Thank you for coming. This picture is for background. I've spent maybe half my adult life illustrating books. And this is an illustration done many years ago from a Chinese folk tale called Monkey, where the monkey is stealing a cudgel from the underwater sea treasury. It's a gouache painting, as are most of these, and this is another book called The Magic Horse. It's a Persian folk tale. That's Prince Tombal, who travels around by wooden horse exploring his kingdom, and his adventures are still ahead of him. And all this led to, this is background for the portraits that I began doing in the 90s. And it's a continuation of storytelling. The person this is sitting in the front row right here. And this painting's a little dated by the phone on the table. But also, I really do enjoy detail. The bugs dead on that bulb show John's harmony with nature. We've moved on to Roz, who is an activist friend, on her porch. And she's wearing a Grateful Dead t-shirt, and she loves plants, and she loves to cook. That's the lunch she made for me. And I'd like to think this tells you a lot about her. This is Jane, who's also in the room. And she shares a studio. She shared a studio where she made pottery, vases and platters. And this painting's called Our Mother of Solutions because she loves to give people things and solve their problems, in addition to making art. This is Ernst in his studio. And this was a new level of challenge for me because I had to paint portraits of his art. And I began to do more and more of that. He was very precise, so it really was challenging. And it tells you a bit about him. There's his prescription bottle. And this is Leslie, who's presenting tonight in her studio. She's an island of calm with so much activity, things that she makes out of concrete, bronze, and plaster. I did say these are all gouache paintings. Done on site, although I would have had to be plastered against the wall to get that perspective. This is my son, and I usually don't do two people, but he's been since age 15 with the same woman, and he's now 37. He was taking a photography course. That's his camera and a picture of me on the table. And she grew up in Africa, and you can kind of read a lot about her life if you could see the real painting. This is Ani, who was an artist, although she had 2 challenged children. She kind of turned her life into art. This was their house. Her husband's a carpenter. And it was one of the biggest challenges to paint because of so many perspectives, even for me. I mean, I don't usually let perspective slow me down. This is a still from something I moved on to after those portraits, which is an animated movie called The Naked Hitchhiker. This woman has flagged down a truck driver, and she's asking if she can borrow some clothes, and her story begins there. It's done in Flash, and it scanned photos of trucks, scanned drawings. He says, what's a pretty young woman like you doing out on a night like this? And she's just falling apart over that. She has to run it through the compliment machine. She's worried that he's flirting with her. And it's not necessarily passing the test. The alarm's going off. And he's saying he didn't mean anything by it. But this is collaged from all sorts of sources. I had no rules about what I borrowed for this. She admits that she has a broken heart. And this is a still where they share a smoke, and she begins to tell her story. That's Flash. Getting snow to look like snow was a little beyond me at that point, but it did feel like they were enclosed in their little world. She tells a story about her marriage up on the high wire, which fell apart. The other woman's waiting down there. And this gave me a chance to tell a story, draw, bring in the music, bring in voices and dance. I mean, I just felt like this was about as fun as things get. I had total control here. This, after she falls, the waiting room of the broken hearts. She goes in and meets the doctor, gets a checkup, is told she's only bruised, and she has to move on to the psychiatrist. She doesn't like the psychiatrist. In fact, she's put off by him and comes into her own. She stops being a victim. And she takes the driver into her mind. This is some of the broken machinery she's dealing with. This machine happens to be the love me no matter what I do or say machine, totally beyond repair. And they keep on going. They go into many dysfunctions. This is another movie that came along after The Naked Hitchhiker that I did with Orly Yadin. We did a story of AA. We filmed a meeting to keep the anonymity. I animated everybody's face, which took some years. And they're telling their stories. Our frame size changed, so I had to add coffee at the bottom. But it worked out. It's incredibly elaborate in terms of the flash heads, the video footage, the photoshopped windows, and the photographs of landscapes that keep changing in the background as they tell stories. It's called One Alcoholic to Another. Oh, and this is another scene from that. This is Ebby, who was one of the early members of AA. This is when he's sitting and drinking. This was fun because the ice clinks and he drinks it. He's very lonesome. That's Flash in my grandparents' house that's been in the Jesuit. Anyway, very recently, bringing you much more up to date since animating, a portrait of a friend in Heinsberg, and her story is definitely here. I mean, to do this, people really have to have some clutter. But there's an awful lot told about her refrigerator. And this is where I'm at. This is the last slide. Under construction, an artist in Burlington, very challenging, many coffee cans and pipes and books. I'm still working on it. And I can't quite tell you where it's going to go, but I'm excited. Thank you.